Good morning and welcome in SimWorld today here on April 16th. I am Marsh, joined this morning by B-Ron. Good morning, B-Ron. How are you?
Doing all right, Marsh. Doing all right. Good to be here with you for another show of SimWorld today, man. Let's go ahead and let's jump into it.
A big day in the SWBA. It is the beginning of the play-in tournament. Lakers, Pelicans, first one's up. Warriors, Kings, the second one up. It is maybe the best invention or introduction to modern day SWBA that has been made. And it is going to be an exciting one with the implication and the opportunity. Winner of that 7-8 game gets a matchup with Denver. Winner of Kings Warriors advances with an opportunity to play the loser and then a chance to get to Oklahoma City. B-Ron, where are you looking at? What are you looking forward to tonight in these ones?
So the Lakers game in particular is one that I have my eye on personally. We've talked about it for a little bit. With LeBron still being in the league, still playing at what I think is a high level for his age. Um, I think that alone kind of gives them a good opportunity to at least make it out of the play-in portion of the tournament and get to that next game that they want to get to. After that, though, I don't really know or have much thoughts on it right now. Kind of have to see how it all shakes out, I guess. But right now, that Lakers game is one that I have my eye on the most right now, and especially because it's a rematch of the last game of the season between those two in general. So they had to do it again. So that's also intriguing to see how both teams kind of handle playing each other in such quick fashion, turning around that quickly and playing each other again.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game that you mentioned, game 82, the Pelicans. They could have won and avoided this whole thing, and that's really been the challenge with this New Orleans team. Who are we getting? What are we getting out of them? Because they have not shown up on a consistent basis when you would expect and reasonably believe they could. So I would not at all be shocked if the Lakers walk out of New Orleans with a second straight win and that date with Denver. I think that's if you're the SWBA, it's what you'd rather see. You'd want to see the Lakers advancing to the postseason. It's always better for ratings. Plus, you'd get right off the bat the rematch of the Western Conference Finals from a year ago with Denver and the Lakers being that relatively competitive sweep.
Yeah.
But this is all going to hinge on the health. And tonight, you're going to see him again. But Anthony Davis, this team is with
hmm
Anthony Davis is a legitimate contender. He's been phenomenally healthy this season, which has been extremely impressive considering his track record. I think he's played over 70 games this season, over 2,000 minutes. If he's there, this team is different. And you look at the way they've played down the stretch, the games that they lost, the Warriors were able to get inside all the time. And then you look how different that was when they played the Pelicans. The Lakers are built around, obviously, LeBron James, but their success comes when they're playing against a team or when they're playing with Anthony Davis. So I'm with you. I would expect the Lakers to walk out, not necessarily because of all the reasons that we just mentioned. Yes, the Pelicans have been inconsistent. Yes, Anthony Davis is playing and they're better. But LeBron James just finds a way to get things done. And I think
Yeah.
that he's the type of player in a one game scenario you tend to just not want to bet against. Over the course of a series, when the advantages of a team are able to be played out a little bit more and you're playing a less flawed organization or program, let's say if they get matched up with Denver, we'd have a different conversation. But I would expect them to win tonight and advance. Second game, Kings Warriors rematch of our 6-3 season first round matchup last year. This has become, B-Ron, a really spicy rivalry. The Warriors have been playing really well. The Kings have not with the number of injuries that they've got on that roster.
No, they haven't, and again, it's kind of for me, it's a similar thing to the Lakers game. Do the Warriors the last I checked, Mars, the Warriors still have Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson. I feel like as long as they still have those three on the roster, even though Klay has had to go to a bench role lately and all that stuff, I don't think any of that matters. I still think that with those three on the team, I think that still gives them a chance to again get past this play-in game, and then from there we'll see what happens. But I uh tradition, consistency, if you will, kind of showed itself, experience showed itself in the playoffs more so than any other time I feel like of the year in sports, and I feel like the Warriors kind of have that coming in.
Look, the Warriors have done this all season. One, they're a great road team for whatever reason. 1 year after being one of the worst in the league, but on paper, you're right. You should feel confident about this group. But they have had so many opportunities to solidify themselves. They were red hot down the stretch. They faced a New Orleans team who we just talked about being inconsistent in Game 81, with an opportunity there to put themselves in a much better situation for the play-in tournament, and they didn't pull it off. So it's very difficult to believe in this group, not because of the immense talent that they have, but because they've found ways time and time again to kind of blow things. And that's my biggest hesitancy with looking at this game tonight. That being said, the Kings are definitely a shell of themselves. Without Kevin Huerter, without Malik Monk, this team is not as deep as it was a season ago when they got that 3 seed on a kind of surprise run. But De'Aaron Fox is still a phenomenal piece. Domantas Sabonis is still really dangerous. And again, in these playing environments where it takes one game and not the course of a series to
Yep.
figure things out, that's always been a really great skill set of head coach Steve Kerr. I think that's might be a little overlooked by the fact that he's coached Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, elite all-time players. He's been phenomenal at making in-series adjustments, and the play-in tournament doesn't allow that. I think they can get the win tonight. I think they can, because there's a lot on the line right now for Golden State that I don't think is quite there. And I think this is falling under the desperation category for Golden
Hmm.
State. If they don't win this game, they're going to go into the offseason with a lottery pick that they don't own unless it lands in the top four, on a draft class that's not very good, with a luxury tax bill that's very high, with guys that are in their mid to late 30s that you have to figure out.
Yeah.
This is a
What you gonna do?
massive
What you gonna do with
point.
them? Because yeah,
Exactly. This is a massive point in the Warriors season and their organization's future tonight that it just isn't for Sacramento.
yeah, those Warriors team could look drastically different next season, like you said, and they're it feels like this is kind of their last chance as the group that they are right now to make that one final, championship run if they still have it in them. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how that's all gonna work out for them.
Yeah, one last chance unless they win and make a push. If they
Yes,
make the
right,
playoffs and win a
exactly.
couple games, this group will be back together in some capacity. But yes, if they lose, those luxury tax bills are getting a little steep. Let's head to SWU, where we have basketball Bedlam set up. That begins on Thursday with first round games, but we have all four regions determined. Our number one seeds: Tennessee, Miami, UConn, and Kentucky. B-Ron, what stood out to you with these rankings and with this tournament setup?
So I mentioned it yesterday as kind of a little like joke thing, but also the fact that Miami is in the Midwest region as the number one seed and not the South region is a little bit odd. But again, like that's neither here nor there when it comes to Bethel Bedlam and how they structure the brackets and all that stuff. But uh, I think that again when you talk about Miami, talk about Dominic Bianco, and I feel like his presence alone, as a former SimWorld Prep player, his presence alone on Miami has been one of the biggest reasons why they're in the spot that they are this season. They've looked phenomenal for a majority of the season, March. Their offense is really scary. They put up a ton of points on you. They ended FSU's run in the ACC tournament, put up a ton of points in that game. So Miami's one in particular, but also I think the the West region is the region of death. When you look at the top four teams in that region: Kentucky, Kansas, UCLA, and Gonzaga. Man, that's a tough cover of teams that you have in that West region.
Yeah, well, to your one seed points, I mean, when you've got Tennessee, Kentucky, UConn, and Miami as your number ones, and all of them are in the Southeast or in New England, it's very difficult to say one of you is going to go and be, outside of that region. So the one in East region makes sense for Tennessee, right? All the other ones don't.
Yeah.
To your point on Miami, you're right. And Dominic Bianco has been phenomenal. 22 points per game, 22.8 on the season, 3.5 assists. They've gotten an incredible season out of Jermaine McElmore III, their power forward, 23.4 points, 9.4 boards per game. And then Norshad Omiera at the 5, 21 points, 12.5 rebounds, 3 blocks. This team is definitely
Man, 3
anchored
guys
by
averaging
Dominic
20,
Bianco.
20 plus more points.
Three guys. This is that, and that's the depth of this group. You're right. It starts with Bianco, but what makes him so unstoppable is that you've got two guys in the paint that are just incredibly difficult to stop. Nobody has been able to slow down Jermaine McLemore. He'll be back. I don't anticipate McLemore going to the SWBA in the draft. So if you're Miami and you're looking at this and you like your chances not only this season, but if you look at it forward looking, say, look, this is a offense we can get behind. Number one in the SWU this season, they're shooting 51% from the floor. These pieces are legitimate, and you feel confident that they're all coming back for round two next season.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. So they've got
Yeah.
a ton of depth. And then to your point on the West region, that region is difficult. I think that you look 1 through I think 9 in that region. You have to feel pretty confident in. Iowa can be frisky. They've had a really good season. They've been ranked at various points in the top 25. Auburn's been playing well in a very deep SEC. Oregon had a great Pac-12 playoff run. Houston's been playing a lot better lately since kind of stumbling out the gates. This is a really, really difficult region to get out of, and I would not be shocked if it's not Kentucky that leaves that region just because of the depth from top to bottom, particularly like
Mhm.
you mentioned in the top four, right? I might say UCLA. Kentucky's the best team in that region, but UCLA might have the highest ceiling just based off what that offense has been when it's fully running.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you mentioned Miami. I'm gonna go back to them real quick because I believe Richard Hennessy also committed to them for next season. So when you talk about that team returning, possibly the 3 players who were at 20 plus more points, and you add in a guy like Hennessy to the picture, his height, I think that's an anomaly at any level. But at the college level, especially, I feel like he could definitely make that team better going forward for the next couple of seasons here as well.
And not to
Um,
mention, that's a
yeah, go
region
ahead.
that's pretty favorable, right? Number three
Right.
seed, which I thought was way, 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 way too high, is USC as the number three seed without Bronny James after just getting bounced
Yep.
in the first round. I mean, you want to talk about some big conference bias by the SWU committee here, B-Ron. Gonzaga, in the second to last week of the regular season, was a top 10 team in the country. They lose in their conference championship game, and they drop to a number four seed. USC loses in the first round of their conference tournament, and they still end up as a number three. There is some bias going on there, but we're going to move on. SimWorld Prep returns Tuesday triple header. All sorts of activity starts at 7 p.m. SimWorld Europe Run DMV, Indy Stripes AT Aliens at 8 p.m. and then H10 Hoopers and Bay Area Breakers at 9. Is there a game on the docket, whether it's local broadcast or national, that you're looking out for, B-Ron?
Honestly, I think for me, it's the SimWorld Europe Run DMV game. There's Europe started off the season really good. They were 5-0 at one point, Marsh. And since then they've struggled and they haven't really been the same team that we expected them to be. What's it? They're 7-10 since.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a good chance for them in particular to start to get themselves back into the conversation of, are they a legit Rich to One title contender? And Run DMV, the SimWorld Prep Splash Bros, if we're calling them that now, Cam Jones and Charles Pinker over there. I think that's gonna be a fun game, but if we're gonna make a prediction on that one, Europe between almost said Beckett, she's not there, between Ivanov and Suslov, I think Run DB doesn't have the height to compete with that team. So if you pound the ball inside, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean those are big pieces. I think Ty Merca, you'd like to see him turn it around a little bit. He's just really struggled as of late, shooting under 35% from the floor. I think he was a big part of their early season success, Europe's, where he was coming out and he was playing efficient basketball. He was making good shots. He was distributing the ball well. He's still doing that, 5.5 assists per game. That's very high up there in the league leaderboards. That's just behind Carson Cutbirth, and I mean Vincent Magic is running away with it with 8 assists per game. But I think as much as Ivanov and Suslov are kind of the pacemakers of this offense, their success level often comes down to what are we going to see out of Ty Merca. And if he can be efficient,
Yeah.
I think he plays not just because they're both 5'10", but he plays a very similar role as Carson Cupworth does for Gulf Coast. When they're on, supporting their bona fide number one guy, these teams can be really dangerous. We haven't seen that so much, but I think you're right. The size is going to be a challenge for Run DMV, but this is a team that likes to run, they like to gun, hence the program's home arena. If they're hitting threes, then it's going to be a challenge for
Yeah.
a slower, more deliberate offense in Europe to keep up.
Very true.
And I think that the 9 p.m. also is interesting. It's going to continue to be interesting in Bay Area amidst everything going on. Second game without Coach Dre Pope should be worth watching. That's at 9 p.m. So again, we are returning to SimWorld Prep action at 7. Triple header on deck today on this Tuesday. Thank you, B-Ron, for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow morning recapping some play-in games, a full slate of SimWorld Prep action, and the rest of what's going on in the sports world. For B-Ron and our production team, I'm Marsh. Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.
This has been a presentation of SimWorld.